checking in here. Gonna give some thoughts, some life updates and some thoughts. Firstly, starting off with the game changers. I mean, it's impossible to avoid this documentary. It's been absolutely everywhere. Every time I've been trying to watch any YouTube videos, the first ad that comes up is about the game changers. What is the game changers? It's this documentary on Netflix, which is basically pushing the plant-based diet agenda heavily. After watching it, I say it's definitely better than What the Health. It's presented better than What the Health, and its overall message is actually good. That's one thing I want to make clear at the start of this. The game changers, I think, brings a good message, which is that if you do follow a plant-based diet, you are going to have less chronic health issues. That is undeniable from the research. The only pitfalls of this documentary is the way they present some of the research articles that they chose, and also how they present meat and fish, which you could make meat and fish in this documentary comparable to cyanide. I mean, if it really is how they say it is in this documentary, I mean, people would have life expectancies of about 20 years old, maybe less. Women dying at such young ages because it's basically pure poison. I mean, they present meat and fish as having so many inflammatory products inside them that it's basically going to destroy all of your cells, which I think is just over the top. Regardless of that, one thing I've taken away is, for me personally, is to reduce the amount of meat and fish that I eat. One, just because I prefer variety in my diet. Two, just to see how I feel eating more plant-based foods. And three, I think, is just the actual fact that moderation is key to everything. I mean, everything is lethal at the end of the day. Eating too much plants or too much meat will both have a negative impact on your health. I mean, if you have 1 to 3 apples a day, that's fine. But if you have about 15 apples, then yeah, you probably are gonna have health problems. But yeah, starts off with some points that I wrote down, mainly just the fact checked. I mean, it's a good documentary in that there are loads of health benefits of eating plant-based foods. That's undeniable. But just some of the studies that they produce and some of the things that they say are just like, some of it's common sense, some of it is a bit insulting to the audience. Like, many people think that protein is a source of energy. I mean, you'd have to be severely uneducated to think that protein is your source of energy in your diet, when everyone knows it's carbohydrates. And in the documentary, they're like, in fact, it's carbohydrates. I mean, everyone knew that. I don't know why they're making out like people think protein is just things like that. Is a bit weird. Number two, going back, like one of the things they start with is talking about the gladiators, which I think is highly irrelevant. They're saying actually the gladiators ain't plant-based foods. I mean, gladiators were basically slaves thousands of years ago, so all the meat was reserved for the people of high class, of high wealth. So there was no way they were going to be eating meat anyway. They probably had no choice but to eat plants. So that kind of is redundant. Also, another interesting claim, they was using the strontium levels in their teeth, I think, as a way to determine that they were actually eating plant-based food. But then in that very article I looked up, it says the strontium degrades. Therefore, that makes everything they say negligible, because if that degrades, it means it's going to give you false readings, false values, so you can't even use that to back up your claim to actually say that they're eating plant-based foods. So that can go like straight out the window. All the references to the ancestors and the teeth, I mean, even that is irrelevant, because the life expectancy of people now is just so much longer. We have better medicine, way better systems in place. So I mean, it's just negligible. And to say that, oh, we shouldn't be eating meat, or we can't, our teeth are not designed to eat meat, I mean, we can eat meat and digest it pretty fine. I mean, no one really has to go to the doctors, or we don't really vomit it out or have to run to the toilet. So that is pretty negligible. Also, of course, is the blood lipid levels when they have the 3 athletes who eat. Two of them eat a meat burrito of organic, grass-fed, whatever, and then one of them eats the plant-based food, and then they have the clear blood and the blood that's not clear. I mean, this is another subjective one. I mean, I don't think that's having such a big impact as they say. That your blood is clear because you ate plants. It's like, so Usain Bolt had chicken nuggets before he broke the world record. I didn't see him having blood flow problems on the 100-meter track. He still blew everyone out of the water. So that's just highly irrelevant. I mean, it does not have such a direct impact on athletic performance straight away. So that's another very selective, like, quick study that they did, as well as the testosterone level one, where obviously that's the famous one that was like circulated on Twitter, that yeah, they had higher than the guys who had the plant-based food had way more erections. I mean, these are very quick on the fly experiments that they did. They weren't in-depth research studies. And the other interesting one, obviously the outrageous one, is the beetroot juice, saying that having beetroot juice increases performance by 19%. I mean, that means beetroot juice should be banned by WADA, by the World Anti-Doping Agency, because it means that that is more powerful than anabolic steroids. That one is just crazy. I mean, it's like, now I have some beetroot juice, I'm gonna go on the 100-meter track and basically run the 100 meters in under 8 seconds. I mean, we all know that's not gonna happen, so that's another one. Heart disease reversal, yeah, that's very true. That when people who have high cholesterol levels actually do start eating plant-based foods, that they do have all of their health markers definitely improve. Number one, plant-based food is less calorically dense, so you're gonna be in a caloric deficit for sure. Also, it's more nutrient dense, so obviously it's better, more vitamins and minerals for you. So I 100% agree with that. That is gonna reduce your risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, for sure. Ancestor debate is another thing I've mentioned that it's not relevant. We don't need to look back at our ancestors because we're living longer than them, so we're doing things better than them now. One of the last things I want to touch upon is they did the test with the firefighters, and I mean, the firefighters all had terrible diets. They ate plant-based food and all their health markers improved, they lost weight. As I said before, you eat plant-based foods, number one, they're less caloric, obviously they're lower calorie foods, so of course they're gonna lose weight, of course your health markers are gonna improve. You put anyone who has any health problems on a diet that puts them in a caloric deficit, all the health markers would improve regardless if it's keto, vegan, high carb, low carb. So that's another one where, like, it's a bit like What the Health when they were saying, then I switched to a vegan diet and everything improved. It's probably because you went into a caloric deficit, not so much the vegan diet. But I'm not going to discredit the vegan diet because it does have loads of health benefits. So if it's easier for someone to go vegan, then it's better. For example, it's something I would recommend, because say they want to track their calories down to the T. If you switch to a vegan diet, then that would basically save you. It would remove the hassle from you. And lastly, yeah, in the end credits, I mean, and also throughout it, I think it's the NFL players, they show a wife who's cooking up a lot of vegan, let's say junk food, a lot of like hamburgers and beef patties and all stuff like that. And I mean, I know they're trying to make vegan food more appealing to the general public by showing the critics you can have vegan hot dogs and vegan chicken and vegan hamburgers. But it's a lot of advocation of vegan junk food, which isn't great. Processed food is processed food, whether it's meat, fish, or if it's vegan or plant-based. It's still not good. Like, yes, you can eat it, but it shouldn't be the bulk of your diet. So if they focus a bit more like whole food sources, like lentils, chickpeas, red kidney beans, you know, broccoli, spinach, like different types of vegetables like that, it would have been better rather than just showing like big greasy hamburgers in the end. Like, yeah, I can still go vegan and have my triple XL Big Mac. It's like, it's still processed foods at the end of the day. Regardless of that, I think overall, yes, I think it is a good documentary. It does raise awareness, I think, of eating too much meat and fish, that we could probably all reduce the amount we eat and have more variety in our diet. If you want to go vegan, yes, you can go fully vegan. I think to go fully vegan, the main thing for me, more than the health impact, is the environmental impact. Because what they did show is the amount animal products have a huge land use, water use, and obviously release a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere. So a lot of greenhouse emissions from that. So that's one of the main things and the problems of animal products, the amount of land and water resources it is using up, and in the future that's bad, of course, for the planet. So that's one thing where you can say the vegan diet has definitely the upper hand over any animal or fish-based diets. But overall, I think for me personally, I'm gonna even attempt a challenge in January. Maybe, I don't know if I'm gonna do fully vegan for 1 month, or I might just do no meat or fish for 1 month and see how that impacts my day-to-day life, my energy levels, my performance in the gym, etc. That's the last thing I want to touch upon. They use a lot of professional athletes who are saying they feel much better, being on a vegan diet, I mean, big powerlifters, bodybuilders, cyclists, that insane triathlon runner. But I mean, I wouldn't really have to put it down to saying, oh, it's because I'm on a vegan-based diet to that level, because you could easily find way more athletes. There are way more athletes who eat meat and fish, who are Olympic gold medalists and world record breakers. So it's very like specific. They chose just a few examples of vegan ones, but there's way more meat and fish based ones who will tell you they have high energy, they feel great, they're smashing world records. So even that is like, take it with a grain of salt. And that's the other thing. I mean, with everything, take it with a grain of salt. It's something I said in a previous video actually, and it's funny because it's come back up again with the game changers, and it's that you need to go out and actually read the articles that they use. It's good in that they back up a lot of their points with research, but there's some of the research articles are terrible, aka the beetroot juice, aka the gladiators and the strontium levels. So you do need to go and actually read it, because if the average person just watches that documentary, they're gonna think meat and fish is cyanide and never to eat it again, and it will just scare them basically. So take everything with a grain of salt, peeps. That's my 2 cents on the game changers. So I thought I'd weigh in. Catch you guys later. And also I want to touch upon the clips you're seeing here. So firstly, you're seeing a bit of the shots from the huge upper session we recorded at QM Gym, which is the uni I used to go to in London. A lot of gains were made in this gym. Also, for the first time, I attempted muscle ups, which I haven't done in about 3 years. I mean, myself and Vin are huge advocates of bodyweight training, mainly in the form of pull-ups. We love our pull-ups. More recently, I've been doing dips, and we think it's good to have some level of mastery over your own body weight. At least being able to do sets of pull-ups, and also building up to weighted pull-ups, because that's a great way to be able to train also in different places. If you don't have access to a gym, you can just do pull-ups, for example. And also it is, I think, the best builder, the best back builder hands down. You cannot beat sets of pull-ups. If you get very strong on pull-ups, you're gonna have a huge back. There's no doubt about that. Going back to the muscle-ups, this is a great show-off movement, but also functional movement. And I'm surprised here, if you see, I was able to hit 4 muscle-ups on this, which was basically towards the end of a workout. So maybe starting off fresh, I can maybe get to about 7 or 8. But yeah, I'm happy that I'm able to do that. Weighing probably about 84, 85 kilos, I don't know. Stop weighing myself. I haven't weighed myself in like the last month in this so-called off season. But yeah, also I attempted a overhead press max out back in Rome, which is what you're seeing here. So the main protocol for this is to thoroughly warm up, because here I was going for a weight I've never used before, 70 kilos. So I started off with 40 kilos for 7 reps, 50 kilos for 5 reps, 60 kilos for 3 reps, and then loaded up 70 kilos on the bar and was like, I'm gonna do as many reps as possible. So you'll see here, I attempt it now. And this was just to get a barometer of where my strength is at, because I haven't maxed out on the overhead barbell press in about 3 years, I'd say. And it is a great movement, make no doubt about it. You wanna have big shoulders, you need to be strong on your overhead pressing. It is the best driver for growth, and I'd recommend overhead pressing twice a week. Unless you do an inclined press as one of your primary movements, I think you can get away with doing overhead press once a week, because research actually shows the EMG activation from an incline press is very high. It's not gonna be as high as an overhead press. Overhead press is the best shoulder activator and will make your shoulders grow the most. So say a shoulder press is about a 10 out of 10. From an incline press, you're going to be getting at least a 7 or an 8 out of 10 activation on your shoulders. That, coupled with lateral raises, face balls, reverse, machine flies, is what's going to build you those cat delts that most people want. But yeah, I'm just happy here to be able to max out at this. And I think this is going to be a movement I'm going to try and progress on over the next year. And it's going to be my go-to shoulder movement, because I did dumbbell shoulder presses for about 2 years. And I'm just fed up and totally plateaued on that. Same with the flat dumbbell bench press. I'm going to be trying to stick to the incline dumbbell bench press, which is of course a harder movement, but even PRs were hit on that. I hit 42s in QM Gym, which I've never hit before. So all in all, now it's just the season to try and gain some mass, and let's go from there. Also, another thing I want to touch upon is I haven't had coffee for the last 2 weeks. I've been doing a no caffeine a caffeine break basically for a month, which I think I need because I have a lot of espressos here in Rome, coupled with a Monster at least once or twice a week. And I did have some negative impacts. I had very bad headaches for the first few days of having no caffeine, but now it's kind of regulated itself. So it's all good. It is possible to function without coffee, let's say. That's my 2 cents for this video. Hope you enjoyed the content, and more content is definitely coming before Christmas and into the new year. Peace out, peeps.